tonight. Bruce, known for many things, mostly VR evangelist, and you'll hear more about things later. I'll be presenting today as well. But let's get this thing underway. We're actually going to start right away with some quick hot fire announcements from Carl about some important things that SVVR is doing in this new beautiful space. So I'm going to pass it to my co-founder, Carl. Woo!
Thanks, Bruce. All right, hello. All right, I have a couple of things to tell you about. First, I want to point you right here. See these people? This is High Fidelity. This is a live connection to High Fidelity. They can talk. Say hello. Hello. Yeah, we can hear them. So we can hear them, and if they behave, we won't mute them. And they can hear whoever's talking into the mic for now, but we're going to show something cooler after demo time in the other room there. And there's a camera here that's aimed right now at the speaker, but earlier we had it aimed at the audience. I'm going to point it just quick at the audience so that they can see, so that you guys can all be friends. Hello! Yay! Hello, Fidelity! Oh, awesome! I love it. Hey. All right, we're going back this way. Hopefully I got that aimed right. Okay, so we have fun. So I have a couple just quick things I want to tell you about. One is, welcome to this space. If you were here last time, you heard a little bit about our membership program, but I want to tell you a little bit more about that. It's called SVVR Passport. And this is how we are going to fund everything we're doing. So we encourage you to take advantage of this if you can. It's basically a membership program. If you're in the VR industry, if you have a VR startup, you're working in VR, you can be an individual member, or there's a membership for startups. You'll get visibility, you get access to the space, 24/7 access. We're going to put card readers on the doors and everything, reservable demo rooms, access to all of our fun equipment. We have all sorts of toys. We're going to have some great digital benefits as well. Check it out. It's very affordable. $125 a month for individuals if you buy a year. $150 a month for companies if you buy a year. That's less than $1,800, and you basically have a home base in Silicon Valley, a place to do all your demos and meetings and everything else you need. So please talk to us about it afterwards. And what else is coming up? GDC is coming up, so that means our annual VR Mixer is coming up. This is like one of our favorite events we do every year. March 21st, tickets will go on sale March 10th. So that is coming up very fast, 10 days, 11 days. If you're interested in sponsoring, we have sponsorship spots available. This is a really fun event that everyone who's been there loves it. Everyone has a great time. About 1,200 people, and we take over this whole nightclub. Ton of fun. Wednesday, March 21st, so we have that coming up at GDC. And, my slide is missing. It's just hidden. We can hear you whispering. You know all your secrets. Yes, and also coming up, we have a workshop, March 27th. We have a workshop with our friends from Fused. Vasant and Hassan back there, they are awesome educators. They'll teach you designing reality, a crash course in VR design right here in SVVR Studio coming March 27th. So please check that out. You follow the links from svvr.com to register for that. And that is it for me, so now we're going to go right into our first speaker. So, Sivan, are you ready? All right, there we go.
Hey everybody, let's just switch to my PC quickly.
Are you doing put them up?
Just put them up.
Okay. Hey everyone. Hello. Nice to meet you all. My name is Sivan. I'm the VP of Business Development at Lumus Optical. How many people here have heard of Lumus before? Okay, how many people have actually seen our optic helmet? Shannon, I see you. Nice. Okay, so this is well deserved. We're an Israeli company. We design AR optics for glasses. We're basing our technology on the waveguide, reflective waveguide optics. I want to tell you a little bit about the company, the products that we have, a little bit about the roadmap, and I'm going to be in the back giving demos afterwards, and I highly recommend checking it out. And hello to the metaverse out there. Hi everyone. So Lumus designs reflective waveguide technology. It's basically our product is what you see there on the left. It's this thing right here. It's pretty hard to see, but this is built out of two components. One is the waveguide, which is the glass, and it has, you don't really see here in the projector, but there are 6 prisms, cascading mirrors. And then the second part is the pod, the projection module that takes the image, injects it into the waveguide, and we sell that together as a component. And how does waveguide technology works in general? This is a very generalistic kind of simplification of how it works. A very specific case, but it's a good idea of how this all works. So the eye is right there. There's image data that's coming from the operating system through the display boards, taking it apart to the 3 core colors, RGB, shining it into or injecting the information onto reflective panels on the LCOS. We can work with every type of micro display. Specifically, there are very high benefits to LCOS in terms of brightness and contrast. So that's what we mostly use, but we're indifferent, more or less. A light source shines on the panels. The light is reflected internally into a collimation pod. That's where the magic happens. And then through an angle that maintains total internal reflection, meaning the entire light is staying inside the waveguide, inside the lens. You don't really see anything escapes. And then hits the prisms one after the other. Part of the light hits the first one, part of it goes to the eye, and then the rest goes on to the next one, partially going to the eye, and then the next one, to build a very uniform, clear, vivid image. That's how it basically works. And we take pride in having a very large field of view compared to other optical systems. Our base model starts at 40 degrees field of view, and we have prototypes of 55, and there's no real barrier to the technology and how big the field of view can get. There are other considerations, other trade-offs, of course, but there's no barrier. We have a compact form factor. This looks, and you guys can check it out, more or less it looks like a normal eyewear. This one is 1.7 millimeter. You can kind of pass it around. Please be sure this is defective, so you won't mind, but please be sure to return this. Lifelike image, take pride in brilliant colors, very vivid, uniformity. There's no breakups, there's no artifacts. And I highly recommend checking it out after the talk or after the demos. And then the last properties that we feel are not talked enough about. True see-through. We believe that in order for AR glasses to really become largely adopted, the optics need to be see-through. Some of the optical systems, what you see out there, they darken it to make the augmented data, the digital data, seem clear, better contrast. We don't do that. It's true see-through. You can check it out and see. You can see people's eyes, their pupils, when they talk to you. And that's a huge factor in our minds. And then daylight readability. We have very bright displays. You can go outside in broad daylight and see augmented information when there's bright background behind it. So that's important. So a lot of people talk about field of view. That's kind of the most commonly referred to property. What is 40 degrees field of view? What does that equate to? So this is a simple math. If you have a 10 feet living room, 3-point-something meters, and you sit on your couch, 40 degrees field of view equates to 80-inch TV, which is not bad. I have about 55, I think, and I often joke that my first 100-inch TV will probably be augmented. Just for comparison, when you're watching a video on your phone in a bus, or anywhere else. It's equal to 22-inch screen TV at 10 feet away or at about 10 degrees. So we are about 4 times bigger than you watching your phone at 1 feet away, which is kind of here. And we believe, by the way, that when you talk about fields of view, a lot of us come from VR, and we're used to the 100, 110, and really being immersed. If you hold up your fingers, and it doesn't have to be really accurate. If you're looking just with your pupil, without changing your posture, just with your eyes, looking at the edges of those 2 fingers, you'll find it becomes uncomfortable after a minute. You won't be able to read anything here. Maybe to see indications, but not really to consume content on these far edges. You would find yourself just turning the head. So most of what we're seeing really exists in front of us. And as long as the latency is low and things change and they track and all the good stuff that our clients, the companies building AR glasses care about, then our display optics could definitely support that. Very quickly about the company, founded in 2000, 17 years ago, so definitely not a young company. We believe that hardware, it takes years and years of rigorous development and failures and successes to really take products to market. The technology is reflective waveguides, as I said, in contrast to diffractive waveguides, which are small gratings in the glass or the plastic, whatever the material is. And the gratings change the angles. For us, it's actual mirrors inside. Our mission is to be the go-to display optic in hopefully your first and second and third AR glasses. We work with many different companies. We're not looking at one specific area or one specific geography. Working with a lot of companies. Very solid IP portfolio, more than 160 patents, 60 pending. Business model is Lumus inside, borrowing from Intel, meaning we're a hardware component. We don't design system at all. Now we do have systems that function as a demo device or reference design for some of our clients if they want to see how we did it, how we connected everything. But it's by all means, it's not, even though we get so many requests and we try so hard to work with everybody and to empower everybody. The DKs, the developer kits that you'll see, I have 2 of them today. You'll get to test it out hopefully after. They're not a product, we're not planning to go to market with them. And proven we've shipped more than 10,000 optical engines. Those are those tiny displays that you saw before. Some recent news, very quickly, I'll jump to the demo. We partnered with Quanta Computers, Taiwanese manufacturer. We've given them a limited license to make the entire fabrication, mass production of our optical engines. What this means, it validates in terms of quantity and price, the display can really fit into consumer electronics. And a lot of people talk about, ranges of high-end phones, hopefully sub $1,000. So that's the target of Quanta. Not only that they're selling our optical engines, they're making them, they're selling them directly to their clients, but they also announced a reference design that they will sell that to, you can think of all the electronic brands that are making, using Quanta and other ODMs for manufacturing. Another announcement with Flextronics, they also do a reference design using our optics. That will be catered more towards enterprise and industrial use. And then lastly, we're working with a company called Deep Optics. They have digital lens technology. They change the diopter based on electrical current running through the lens. And what that helps us do is get over the vergence accommodation conflict and then show content at multiple focal depth. So that's really exciting. And then many, many more news, working diligently on putting our optics in actual devices that people would be actually able to buy. So stay tuned. Working with all sorts of verticals, consumer, enterprise, and then also working with the military since 2008. You can see our optics in fighter pilots' helmets. AR-10 and F-16 already use our optics for about 10 years now. This is our product portfolio. Above the purple line, what we design and sell. Below it is our developer kits. We have a top-mounted one we just announced at CES. That will be the one that I'll be showing. 1080p resolution, really brilliant image quality. And then the dev kit 51 and 52 are a renewed version of our old DK50. And that kind of goes to show glasses form factor. At CES, we've also announced working on Sleek, which is a side-mounted optical display. The same properties as the one before that you saw, the DK51, but a much smaller form factor. And we also designed just a concept of something that this would fit into. So hopefully later this year, we're going to show the optical element that could be wrapped by something like this. And then there's a lot of more work to do. We're not system designers, so this is one concept, but you know, cameras and tracking and gesture and all the good stuff that really make a great AR system. Hopefully we'll come to that. This is in broad strokes the size of the display, and I don't know if you can see, it's pretty dark, but the pod itself, we're really working on minimizing it while maintaining a very large field of view. Okay, let's get to the good stuff, demo time. So this is a very quick example. Let's see. Please help me pray the demo gods. Hey, everybody, silently. Silent prayer. All right, one more try. Get it? That's on purpose. That was on purpose. All right. Do it. There you go. All right. Thank you, demo gods. We applaud you. So this is just a basic Unity Euphoria app that I downloaded. There's nothing special about this. Just wanted to show you quick tracking. So then, just casually looking at this nice marker right here, I can see this cute animation. Nothing fancy about it, doesn't really light it in different ways or no interactivity. But in terms of, remember, we're just showing the optics, right? So this is very high brightness right now, so you guys can probably see my pupils light up. Somebody that would design a system would put an ambient light sensor in to modulate, to change the brightness level, but in terms of the content, just I don't have to wear it that much. There you go, and really cool stuff you can do. All right, it crashed. Yeah, that's me. Thanks so much.
Yeah, while we're transitioning to the next speaker, one, maybe take 2 questions. Max, we got any questions? By your question back there.
What kind of tracking are you using?
We're not.
You're not?
No, that's the first question. The question was, what tracking are we using? We're not using any tracking. We're trying to not overcomplicate our DKs because that's not our specialty. We just wanted to work to show the optics. On the other hand, we're always tempted, especially me with a content background, tempted to try and kind of showcase the best content we can. We do have stereo cameras on them. That's why I showed it with this device and not the new one that I'll show in the back. That one was like the first CES prototype that we had, so we didn't have time to put cameras in it. But this one has stereo cameras, so this is basically Euphoria, super easy, marker-based. We are working with companies who are obviously mounting really cool, awesome hardware and then software onto it. This, we have 2 configurations, very quickly, 2 configurations for the DK. One is a full system on board running Android with a Snapdragon, and then the other one is just an HDMI in that can run image or video from any device, iPhone, PC, Android device, whatever you want to throw at it. It just functions as a secondary monitor, basically.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
What frame rate?
It's not really a question of our optical system. It's more about the system. Whatever the system supports, we've shown I think 90. This one works at 60. I think this one works at 60. more or less one.
I forget if they're using brag gradients or is it a polymer versus
Well, I have no idea. I know you're gonna throw that at me. I got your email. We'll talk after. We'll wrap it up here.
Excellent, thank you so much, Ron. It was very informative. If you have more questions, be around. But we're going to move right along to our next speaker. A wonderful man who's well known in these circles. Philip Rose is going to talk to us about blockchain and virtual reality and the metaverse. Let's give him a warm welcome.
Let's try a little bit. I'm still learning. It's so nice to be here. It's so cool to arrive and also see the gang of us there in virtual reality. Hey everybody. Thanks for having me. SVR has been such a great family for us. You know, I remember the very first announcement that I made about, kind of getting back into VR and working on VR after Second Life was not here, but was at SVR in 2012 or 13 or a long time ago. And then our big beta announcement when we took High Fidelity into beta was here as well at the big event, which was really fun. And so it's been a fantastic kind of home for everything we've done. So I could talk about so much stuff. We've got a nightclub getting better and better every Friday at 4 if you want to come and dance in High Fidelity. Obviously, this is amazing. SVR, Carl and team have built a sort of a replicator that I think can be used across multiple virtual worlds, but we're seeing it here in High Fidelity right now, and that is really, really cool. I was telling Carl that hauling the video out of this room and putting it into VR is a much bigger pain in the butt, as Carl knows, and a big business opportunity. Than getting the virtual people here. You can hear our gang there with very low latency, and of course their voices carry and are amazing. We have a mixed reality set up in our kitchen at work as well for our offsite employees, and their voices come booming in. I'm always leading the discussion as our CEO, and I'll say, did somebody have something to add, and they'll speak, and it's just like the voice of God. So, I could talk about all kinds of stuff. We've been doing lots over the last year or so. Getting the last pieces of the platform, of High Fidelity up and running. But the thing I thought might be interesting, how many people are, would you say, pretty up to speed on blockchain? Probably a lot of people here, right? Okay, so less even than I thought. So cool, okay, this might even be somewhat more informative. So I want to talk about how I think VR in the long term, in the same way I'm always talking about platform and VR and what's it mean to all of us and what does it mean to be a human and use VR. I want to talk a little bit about, more specifically, how I think VR and the blockchain are going to collide or mesh, and then what that means, what that means. And I think it means a lot about how we work potentially, because a big part of the blockchain stuff is money and selling things and stuff like that. So, Mark Zuckerberg famously said, we're going to have 1 billion people in VR. But if you know something about virtual worlds, and if you think that VR is mostly not going to be gaming, it's going to be something we're all doing together, you can take things like Second Life and make some extrapolations about what does 1 billion mean. Well, it means $1 trillion economy. Again, this is just actually scaling up from Second Life, which at 1 million people is it's a fair comparison. It'd be the 15th biggest country in the world. It means, and this is an interesting one relative to architecture, it means something like 50 million servers. You can debate that with me later, but I'm telling you, I'm right about this. It's tens of millions of servers, okay? It's not like a server. It's tens of millions of servers, which is a ton of servers. Now, you can have that many servers, but you kind of need the whole internet scale for that. It's billions of items for sale, and it's tens of thousands of transactions a second, which is like Visa today. So that's kind of interesting to think about. Are we going to get to that with a centralized solution for all this stuff? Well, just even pragmatically, we're not. It's too many machines, as I just said. You couldn't put all those machines online. But there's also tremendous issues there, right? If we're going to do work like in the metaverse, or if we're going to do work in VR, we're going to want to have understanding about, the privacy of our data and our identity and things like that, the fact that we went to a meeting, things like that, they're going to really matter. They don't matter in video games. They're going to matter a lot in VR. So it's very difficult to imagine anyhow how this would all happen in a centralized way unless you're watching the movie that we're all waiting for to come out, which presents us with a delightful piece of fiction, which is, one big company to run it all. But that's just because that's science fiction. It's probably not going to end up that way. But what do we need kind of beyond all the visual stuff? What do we need to kind of get to work and migrate into VR? Lots of things, but I'm going to focus here on the stuff that relates to kind of commerce and the blockchain. We need identity. I need to know that it's Shannon, and I'm invited into my meeting, and I'm going to buy something from him. We need some kind of IP rights. We don't just want to say VR is just where you just copy everything, because then those of us who need to wouldn't be able to make livings there in a lot of ways. We need some concept of who owns what, probably. I would say, I guess you could push me and say maybe not, but I think we do. And then of course we need a payment system of some kind. Now the blockchain today is fully decentralized. This is sort of Bitcoin and Ethereum, but there's a couple of problems with that. The transactions have become really expensive because it's expensive to have 25,000 people back everything up for you. It's really expensive. Also, if you imagine VR type transactions happening on the blockchain, it's not going to happen because they got to happen quickly. Like I'm literally giving you a copy of the flower I want to sell to you. Well, that needs to get transacted right now, especially if it's a decentralized system where I can only believe once Bitcoin says it's been done that it's been done. And the problem with this is that we've got 25,000 or more people that kind of all have to keep the same record. So the idea of a blockchain, as you know, or as some of you know, is not just money, but it's a very simple thing. It's a database where everybody, or a lot of people, 25,000 in the case of Bitcoin and Ethereum, all are forced by playing a game to keep exactly the same copy of the same data. An example of which would be your bank account balance, but it can also be other things like who owns what, or a statement about something, or even a contract, as I might touch on a little bit. But when you have 25,000 people all kind of playing a video game to agree to do that, you've got to pay everybody to make those backups for you, and so 25,000 is a lot. The solution for VR is, actually this is generally true for blockchain. So a lot of people right now are looking at Bitcoin and Ethereum. How many people own Bitcoin and or Ethereum, sorry. That's cool, that's like 25% of us. That's interesting. Everybody right now is looking at how to speed these things up because Bitcoin's 10 minutes and Ethereum's 45 seconds on a good day. So everybody's thinking about how to speed these things up. So it's not just us as sort of VR operators thinking about this, but we're doing some of the same thinking. Basically, in a nutshell, the way you make this blockchain stuff fast is you make it so that only some of the people actually are the sort of official record keepers, but you get enough of them involved, say hundreds around the world, that you can be quite certain that they distrust each other and they've got that same happy, decentralized relationship that everybody has that's using Bitcoin. And then what you do is you can kind of send your transactions to any one of them, and then they sort of send it around to each other in a ring. And this is something that will enable, it's what we're doing, and it's what other companies are doing, that'll enable things like a blockchain to run really, really fast, say tens of thousands of transactions a second, and things can go, the transaction can go through and get approved, so to speak, in like a second, which is what we're doing. I'm going to skip ahead a little because I'm going to show you stuff. The other thing that's really cool, and this is more of like a talk, wax philosophical with me about this afterwards, but it's really hard to explain, is monetary policy. So, as you guys know, the world is full of rich debate around which country does or doesn't manage its economy correctly. But Bitcoin, for being usable as a currency, so again, my reference here is Second Life. What we want to do is build something where $1 billion a year can change hands with people buying and selling things and doing work for each other and stuff. None of that is happening on Bitcoin right now. None, as we all know. Nobody is buying cars or televisions or doing services or consulting with Bitcoin. The reason they're not is because Bitcoin is just going up and up and up and up in price. And the reason for that is the monetary policy of Bitcoin. Bitcoin has a fixed number of Bitcoins, and because its utility is growing, utility or productivity means people that want to use it for anything at all. Because that's growing, if you don't increase the amount of money that's in the system, the price goes up, and that's what we're all watching right now, in excitement for those of us who own it, right? But this is an accelerated curve right now because the utility is accelerating, everybody's finding out about it and saying, wow, maybe I really can swap my gold for Bitcoin. So it won't work at all for an economy. So what you have to do for an economy is move money around. What you have to do for an economy is manage the money supply in a different way. And what you actually have to do is you have to make more money as more people come in. So on the left is Bruce and I. We have $1 and one cupcake. Every day we switch dollar for cupcake, cupcake for dollar, and both of us are happy. We're using that dollar as a sort of a record-keeping token. Now imagine the second day, 2 more people join. Carl joins, Cliff joins. The problem now is that if we've got another cupcake amongst us, we need another dollar to represent the cupcake. So you need another unit of trade. And so as people come into an economy, and this happened with Second Life, you need to make more dollars. So with Second Life, we actually did make more dollars. With the United States, we made more dollars. With China, we made more dollars. This is kind of how it works. But the thing that was kind of cool was Second Life was sort of a video game and one company, and everybody was like, oh my God, it's like a little country that's got a monetary policy. But long story short, we basically had to come up with a way to make more money, roughly at the same pace that people were coming in, roughly to keep the exchange rate constant so you don't get that curve that I showed you, okay? So how do you do that with a blockchain? Well, there's a way to do it, and that's one of the things that we're working on. With a blockchain, you basically do it by using a kind of a smart contract, for those who have heard about it, to watch the exchange rate and expand the amount of money in the system sort of automatically as the exchange rate tries to go up, to make more money and kind of rain it out of the sky on everybody or something, so that the exchange rate stays constant. So that's actually the trick. I won't go into that like a ton, but it's quite interesting. You can talk to me about it more if you catch me. And I talk about what we're doing. But what we're doing is building a blockchain and a set of smart contracts that will, not like Bitcoin, will instead increase the money supply so that we get the same thing, hopefully, that we saw, or the good aspect of what we saw with Second Life, which is we were able to go from 1 million transactions a year to 1 billion transactions a year, and it all worked out. So what we're doing is, going back to just basic currency, we're building a blockchain that has several different things stored on it, not just money. It has money, which we call HFC. It also has the concept of being able to store who owns what on that blockchain. So when I buy Bruce's hat from him, the hat comes with a little certificate. The certificate is like a proof of purchase, and it lives actually on the blockchain. And what that means, what's cool about that is, just like my money, it's very much kind of under my control now. If I buy the hat from Bruce, he can't take it back from me once I bought it, and I can sell it to Carl without any company or anybody else stopping me. Carl can buy it, have the hat, and you guys can all know that it's now Carl's hat. So what we're trying to do inside High Fidelity, or what we've done actually, is we've built a system that lets both money move around very quickly. I'm going to show you a little demo on this, see if we can. We're going to let money move around very quickly and easily right inside the virtual environment, but also property. So if you remember Second Life, the idea, you could look at something and see who owned it. In High Fidelity, you're going to actually look at this public blockchain and say, who owns this? And we'll try to actually show you that. This is pretty cool. So that's what actually we've just mostly gotten done. We have this virtual bank called the Bank of High Fidelity. It's one of our servers where you can literally go in and get in line and get a little cryptocurrency, get a little HFC from us by standing in line. We thought that was it's actually like a totally amusing thing to do in VR, because imagine Bruce standing in line, you walk out and tell jokes and walk up and down the line. That's what I did. So much fun. Everybody's queued up in the line waiting to get their virtual money. Fantastic. I had to do that. But we've got that all up and running today, and we're starting to play around with it. The next big thing we'll do is we've been going through this in a couple of early kind of beta-ish stages. We've given a bunch of money to people like you that have been at High Fidelity already. We've given out a few million HFC doing that, and then we're going to now start giving money out to new people that come in and give us like a form of identity. I didn't touch on that before, and I won't given the time, but this is a big deal though. With Facebook, you log into Facebook with your Facebook account. This is kind of the thing about identity. I'll skip to here and then I'll show you down. If you log into Facebook or Google, you're trusting one company with this identity information about you. That means not only that they could do something as you, but it also means that somebody else, if they broke into their databases, which as we know happens all the time, can associate something like your email address and your home address. Of course, as we know from the movies, Ready Player One, and many others. This is very dangerous. You can get killed if that information gets out. So there's a tremendous importance to doing identity right. The way to do identity right, in short form, is you store that same, just like you store money and you store assets on the blockchain, you store little encrypted pieces of truth about you. So you prove, for example, that you have a driver's license, or that you own your cell phone number, or that you have your cell phone number because you can reply to a message, or that you have an email address because you can reply to a message. That information gets stored on the blockchain. And then when you go log into one of our servers, you just present the credential. You essentially prove that you and only you have the key to that address piece of identity. So that's a pretty cool aspect as well. So that's kind of some fun stuff we're doing. Let me do this and go in world mode, just to prove to you, you guys know we always make a lot of crazy stuff, so I probably don't need to convince this friendly audience that we have this working, but nevertheless. So it's pretty mind-blowing to go into high fidelity while looking at high fidelity in there. And if I went into the server SVVR right now, I guess we would just go back in time or something. We would actually feedback, says Carl, so I probably shouldn't do it. But here I am standing in the new hello area with one of our greeters wondering why we're yelling at him. Let's see, are you really alive, Mr. Greeter? You are, thank you. I told him earlier we'd go and do this to him. So this is our kind of starting point. Look what we've got up for tonight. The special place that you can go to as a new user is SVVR. Thank you. I just wanted to show you a couple things in terms of how this works. So see up there, I'm using the UI, the UI in the HMD, which you can plug in, but make it a little harder for the demo, is a tablet. So it looks just like this. It's kind of like a little Android tablet. But I'm going to click on Wallet. And this is a full-on cryptocurrency wallet now that you bring up right in the world. I'm putting in a passphrase, and I know the cat is my security photo. This is my money. And then the system is actually looking at the blockchain here and seeing things that I've bought and sold, and money that I've given to people. So notably, I can buy something in the virtual world and pay it immediately right out of this wallet. And then when I purchase the item, you get this little information bubble that you can hover over that shows that you actually own something or that somebody else owns something. So like I said, when you see Bruce wearing his hat, you can kind of click on it and you get a little information thing, point your laser pointer at it, and you see a certificate for everything that you own. And if I want to jump around in world here and find something, I can do that. But one cool thing that I can do though, which is we talk about working. Actually, let me show you this first. As well as buying virtual goods, I can actually, and we just got this working last week, I can send money. So I'm going to click on send money, and then I can just say, hey, pick somebody nearby. And so I can click our lucky greeter here, Nick. Here it comes, Nick. And then, yeah, exactly, the studio audience there isn't getting any money. Nick. Are the best. People have already noticed, by the way, that this is a kind of a fun reputation system because you could send just one HFC, which is like 1 penny, just to say, I like you. And in fact, I suspect, and though I don't have time to discuss it, come and hang out and talk about it, the future of reputation systems, the Yelp for avatars or whatever, if you will, is going to look something like that, I think. And it's one of the things we're thinking about next. But if I click submit here, you'll see a little shower of money goes to Nick there. And he's now a little bit richer, maybe $5 richer. And that's just a quick example of being able to pay somebody. But the guy that we have playing music, I'll jump to another server here just for a moment. We've got this server that I encourage you to come to on Friday called Rust. And this is it. We're doing some rework on it right now so that you can more easily get dressed when you've come here for the first time. And this, I think, is one of our designers standing there who's probably working on it right now. But this is the currently very boring party space where we have music every Friday. And this amazing guy from Periscope named The Flash, who's one of the number one guys on Periscope in terms of earnings, puts on this amazing live DJ show, and he's a remarkable DJ. He's just killing it on Periscope, and he just comes and DJs now in Rust in this space. And the thing that's interesting about that is he is a Patreon user. You guys all know Patreon. And he's got a good Patreon following, and that's starting to make a living for him. But Patreon's a little bit klutzy, right, if you've been through it. I mean, you've got to really love the person, and you got to go to their website and sign up and, PayPal, get on a recurring payment with them, basically, to be their supporter. Wouldn't it be more amazing if you could do what I just did, paid our greeter, and just pay the DJ? Not hang the DJ, but pay the DJ. Instantly. And that's exactly what this guy, The Flash, is doing. So he's one of the first people that we hope will be a prototype for starting to make a real living directly from people being able to pay you. And if you think about, the economic change associated with making it that easy, so many phenomena on the internet came not of something entirely new becoming possible, but of something normal that we'd already done before becoming incredibly easy. And the observation I would make is that though blockchain has already been very impactful in terms of lighting the way for a lot of new economic models, this idea of being able to pay somebody instantly a small amount of money for a service, for being a cool DJ, is fascinating. And I think it will lead to a different kind of a gig economy. And so my prediction around sort of blockchain and VR in summary is that where with Second Life we saw all this sort of merchandise sales fizzle to a large part, I think with VR and with headsets and this feeling of immersion, I bet what comes of all this kind of next generation is this idea of a gig economy and people that just say, I work in VR and I do great there. So let me stop there and maybe take a couple of questions, and thank you for watching.
So along similar lines, could I charge you to visit my space? Like if I held an event on my own server, could I charge an instance fee?
Yes. Sure. Yeah, you can. That's one of the features that is enabled as well, is being able to pay to go somewhere. Yes.
I've heard there's an idea that you'll be able to tie together real world purposes, like you might have already given us a virtual space, then you walk into not staying your shoes.
Yeah. So can we put the question is, can we buy both the real world item and the virtual item in concert? And I think that this will definitely happen. It's one of the things we're starting to talk to, people that make real world things about. I think there's a kind of a durability that the blockchain can even add to things, right? Like your sort of real world item will now come with a digital copy, right? Which is additional corroboration that you own something. I love the conspicuous consumption idea of it. I was laughing the other day with somebody and I was saying, somewhere probably in New York City, is the person, probably a woman, who owns more Jimmy Choo shoes than anyone else in the world. Now, you can talk about how many shoes a certain company sold, but we don't at present have an easy way of knowing, if they care to share it with us, who owns the most of a certain thing, the greatest number of Swatch watches or something. Wouldn't it be fascinating if we engaged in a social exchange where that person could, if she or he elected to, let you know that, you know what I mean? And that fact was irrefutable, that they were the person who owned the most of that one thing. How much would that brand company, do if they knew that person was walking by their door in New York City right now, to just bring them in? So, yeah, I think that's a fascinating issue. Yes?
Yeah, I was curious about the ratio in your company between people working on the blockchain part of it or the VR part of it. Like, would you consider your company to consider it more of a blockchain company with VR on top, or is it a VR company with blockchain?
That's great. So the question is, how much of us are working on VR versus blockchain? Still the great majority of us on VR. We're about 50 people now, mostly product and development as before. And we have a team of about 6 people working just on the blockchain stuff. And a few more of us thinking about it at a strategic level like myself. But still in the minority. Yeah. Nicole.
I was curious about submitting new technology is often a phase in which we try and replicate the previous version of that technology. So it's blockchain, talking about money, we're talking about money replacements, we're talking about energy replacements. So I was curious if you guys have been thinking about how something, what sort of new features and new things a lot of things that's unique to virtual space that turns out to have a real corresponding thing.
So what new features does blockchain enable? I forgot. God, this is the audience to say this. I have to tell you this story. So I was thinking about how to use the blockchain, So without going into too much detail, the blockchain also has a thing called a smart contract. And a smart contract is something where you can publicly declare that a certain event will or won't happen if a certain action is taken. Or this is one example. The simplest example of a smart contract would be, I want to sell Bruce's hat again, okay? I own his hat, and I want to resell it because it's so cool. Bruce has become famous, and I want to resell the hat and make some money. What I do is I make a smart contract on the blockchain that says, I have a Bruce Wooden hat, and I wish to sell it for $1,000. And what I do actually is I transfer the ownership of the hat for a moment, let's say a day, to the smart contract. The smart contract is written to wait 1 day and either return the hat back to me as the new owner, or if someone gives the smart contract $1,000, the hat goes to that person and the $1,000 goes to me. Does everybody follow that? And the contract itself is written in public, and it's irrefutable. Once it's written, it can't be taken back. So once I put Bruce's hat into it for $1,000, that's the deal. I absolutely cannot get that hat back except by waiting. Now, here's the mind blower that's straight out of Ready Player One, okay? Remember how I said that identity, your identity, and everything that means, all your friends, all the stuff you own, is going to be tied back to a single address, which is the account name, let's say Philip, okay? Like it is on Fidelity. I'm the only one who owns that key. Now, let's say Bruce and I decide to, of our own consent, engage in a great battle, a battle from which only one of us will survive. Without needing a company, without needing a Facebook to back this up, using a completely decentralized system, this would work, what I'm describing right now. Canon will work on Ethereum today, and will work on our blockchain when we get this stuff fully deployed. So Bruce and I can basically say, with everyone else as our witness, as we walk into this ring, we transfer ownership of our login credentials to a smart contract. The smart contract, which you guys can all read, making this very exciting, says that 10 minutes from now, only one of us will get their account credentials back. The one who scored the more points, beat the crap out of each other. Doesn't that just give you chills? Do you get what I'm saying? So we can basically, Thunderdome, we can basically play for pink slips, where the pink slips are our lives. Come on. So that's such a great question, Nicole. So as a weird side effect of what happens next with blockchains, I was sitting and thinking about this, thinking about Ready Player One, loving all that fiction, right? And saying like, wow, you really could have a kind of a consensual contract that had terms like that. In other words, we walk into that PvP zone, don't have to if you don't want to, but if you do, and we make that contract decision and we sort of approve the dialogue box or whatever, only one comes out. And that was kind of what we saw at the culmination of the story there. But strangely enough, that'll work on the blockchain, which is pretty good. Maybe one couple more. Yes?
In terms of this kind of system, how does it work if the company dies at some point? What happens with the work that you create?
So all the information on the blockchain lives forever because it's stored on many people's machine, and therefore any of you could take the information that's on the blockchain and reconstitute a new virtual world. Our software in our particular case is open source, and we did that of course for a reason, so that you would be able to restart all of High Fidelity if you cared to, running it on your own machines using that. Probably the other step we need to do is something similar to what a startup called Decentraland has tried to do, which is we could also store the information about exactly where everything in a certain region of space is on the blockchain as well. That's a pretty cool idea. It's kind of a subset of running your own servers, so we haven't kind of done it yet. But that will allow the entire virtual world to be rebuilt sort of by everyone's agreement, by any of you. And that's another one of the things that I think is incredibly important, because these companies, no company lives forever, but our property and our relationships and our kids' property, so to speak, must, right? So it's important. Shannon?
Yeah, I'm kind of toying with the idea of incorporating blockchain into avatar definition. And let's say you have your identity that's set up in the blockchain that describes Rosedale and your login credentials, etc. Would there be a way to sort of transfer that avatar between systems so that it can be used in High Fidelity or in Facebook, Spaces, or somewhere else? So it's kind of the same entity. It can only be in one place at a time, one virtual world.
So absolutely. So we are working with other virtual world providers. One of them, friends of ours, are here. James, where are you? I know I saw you. Hi, James. We are working with our hope, and we're working together with Janice on this right now, a bit in the very early stages, is that we'll do exactly that for those in high fidelity. What Shannon was asking was, can you use blockchain-based avatar login or avatar information across virtual worlds? So provided we can come up with a standard for defining, say, the file that describes the way my avatar looks, and that everybody can render that, and that's pretty easy. I mean, we're converging on standards like GLTF, and I mean, this is not very hard to do. I mean, hard, but it's not impossible. If different virtual worlds can render that information the same way, and I think they can, yeah, you actually store a hash which points to a file in the cloud, blah, blah, blah. I'm hand-waving, but I can explain it to you, that uniquely describes the appearance of your avatar. You store that information on the blockchain, and any virtual world can use to log in, and that's one of the exemplars that we're working on together with Janice. Thank you. So, should probably wrap up. Is that it? Great. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming.
How's everyone doing in high fidelity right now? Everyone, wave your hands in the air. All right, excellent. Spin around. I need everyone to spin around for me right now. Everyone spin around. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Virtual hokey pokey, baby. Let's go.
Touch the magic.
All right, here we go. What's up, people? My name is Cymatic. Oh, hey, all right. Awesome. I'm known as Cymatic Bruce, VR evangelist, all-around dude doing things in virtual reality since this resurgence has happened. The co-founder of SVR and Altspace VR, and now at 6D.ai, an AR company. It's interesting, and you can ask me questions about that later. But I recently came back from Japan, which was a really cool trip. I was there for a couple of weeks, interfaced heavily with the VR community there, and did some cool VR stuff. So I'm going to just jump right in and share some of those things about what happened in Japan, starting with a kooky, very Japanese video. Prepare yourself. Oh no, wait on the audio, hold on. Almost there. So wild. Routing audio through space in the metaverse.
Okay, we're good.
Cool. Hold on. This is cut off, you can't see, I think there's something going on with the resolution. Hold on a second. That's not good.
You can do it.
I can do it.
You got this.
Give me your power, people.
Spirit fingers.
Yeah, spirit fingers. Spirit fingers from the metaverse, please. Honey? Come on, man. Oh, that's bad. Okay. That's still.
It was the side screen damage. That one is missing a little bit.
Yeah, that's a little odd. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna move a little bit so you guys can actually see the video here. All right. Let's give it another shot.
見えてますか？聞こえてるかな？はじめまして。私の名前はキズナアイです。どうぞよろしくお願いします。普通の YouTuber と違うぞと思ったそこがあなた。
meant to raise more questions than answers. All right, here we go. Let's see if how this looks if I put in presentation mode here. Still a little wild. Let's see. I think I might have to get a little bit creative. There we go. How about this? There we go. I'll have to do this so it'll actually fit on screen. You can see what I'm talking about. All right. So quickly, kind of want to go through a few things. I might explain some of what you saw in the video. Just basically about kind of the VR community out there, some of the indie projects I saw, kind of the VR market in Japan and what that's like. VR Zone Shinjuku is its own bullet point because it's so dope. And then some closing thoughts. So first, the VR community in Japan is incredible. So friendly, so welcoming. I had the best time with the folks out there. We did lots of different things. They took me around, showed me lots. That giant Space Invaders thing was in Roppongi. It was like Space Invaders Gigamax on the side of a building, and everyone was like 13 joysticks to play. Nuts. But I did a lot of very, very cool stuff with the community there. And one important thing to know about that community, they're very indie, as opposed to Korea, which is more top-down. It's more the government's involved, very kind of organized. Japan kind of really started as a very indie type of thing, with something called OcuFest happening on a regular basis. And Japan indie VR developers are about their games. They love games, the oldest games. What you're looking at here is me trying to get as much in a picture as possible. That is me at Goroman's office. Goroman is from XVI. He's really well-known, the most well-known VR people that's out there.
He's a Bruce of VR of Japan.
Yeah, Bruce of Japan. There we go. We can call him that. And he's amazing. And we're at his office, and he just start like going in the shelf and throwing out random old school things. And we're like, "What, Goroman? What are you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, hold on." I'm like, "What the hell's going on?" So he busted out a Famicom, that's an NES, with the NES keyboard, with the cartridge that's Family Basic version 3. So in Japan, you can program BASIC on a Nintendo, okay? With the controller, and on my face, I'm wearing the Nintendo 3D goggles. He went then to show me how he hacked those 3D goggles through a few pinouts, through a VGA, and then in an S-video port on a very old computer, and was doing some old emulation in 3D. Nuts. So crazy, crazy, crazy. He also busted out a full Vectrex arcade unit with light pin. I was like, what are you even talking about? These guys are passionate about their old school games. They go deep. There's a book published about NES Basic that wasn't published like, 90s, like it was published like last year. It's pretty serious. And also, there was some really cool stuff I was able to do out there as far as we had a Meetup. It was very chill, lots of drinking, lots of fun stuff happening, so some cool demos and whatnot. And also, there was a kind of a mini conference kind of covering CES for the folks that were there and bringing that back to the community. And that's where I got to try a Vive Pro, playing some Res and Vive Pro, which was very, very cool. Very comfortable, very clear, very cool experience there. And also got to try the Lenovo Mirage. It's like a thing. It's wild. They had the Blade Runner demo playing in there, and it was actually very, very good. I was very impressed by that as well. And they had folks there. It was a journalist, and then there was someone from Lenovo, and also a person from HGC there as well. I had some great conversations with, and we're able to talk about how the market is in Asia and in Japan, and how things are going, and some of the things on the horizon. So that was a really cool experience as well. So there's definitely lots going on in Japan as far as community, but there definitely are, the fair share of struggles there as far as, actually finding ideas that are going to make money. There's a lot of people doing their independent stuff, but maybe not necessarily doing things that are profitable or that might have a business model attached to them necessarily. So there's some kind of initiatives over there with the, I think it's kind of the XR Tokyo startup group out there. It's really trying to get some things going. But yeah, so some of the projects that I experienced there, where's Square Enix department over in Japan that is actually working on this dynamic manga. They had a demo at the meetup there. I didn't have any photos or videos, unfortunately, but it's really good. And the guy over there needs Unreal developers, and he's like, I would prefer to have some Unreal developers from the West come out to Japan and help because of the mentality with tackling VR problems. It's, that's kind of his words. I think there's a difference in the mentality between the West and in Japan, the way developers look at problems or how they tackle them. So if anyone is an Unreal developer that wants to go to Japan, work for Square Enix, let me know. There was this dude, he had this wild Gear VR multi-station. It was like QWOP, but for Gear VR, which was very weird. And like you kind of run with the controller. What the clever thing was, you can have 3 Gear VRs, and they're all kind of linked, and you have like a tablet where you can see everyone's progress there. So it's kind of a network linked experience, which I thought was pretty interesting, especially in light of in Japan, there are a lot of more focus on mobile and on location-based experiences out there. Miku was everywhere, Jesus. Hatsune Miku, if you're not familiar, is a Vocaloid. It's essentially something that was kind of came out of a fan base. But it was really cool. It's this character, and her songs and voices kind of crowd sourced and made, and has become super, super popular. And there are so many VR experiences that are about hanging out with Miku, shaking hands with Miku, browsing the internet with Miku, posing Miku in various ways while you set her up for her concert and then dance in front of her stage. There's a lot going on. Adam Caster and Make It Film are XVI, Gotoman's company. I hopefully will be able to get the Oculus Rift working for demo so you can see what that looks like. That thing at the beginning with Cousin Eye, that is what's kind of a thing that's happening called VTubing, where someone is essentially puppeting an avatar via VR and able to make a whole suite of YouTube videos that way. And there's a lot of YouTube channels that are actually growing, and that's picking up a lot of steam right now in Japan and in Asia. Next, the VR market. It's very much skewed toward location-based. In Japan, not lots of people own PCs. People have phones. That's what they commute with. That's what they can do a lot of things with. Computers are very much for work and for geeks. And that's kind of the way it's been in Japan for a long time. So people don't have those desktops or even laptops to power VR experiences. So a lot of what you'll see for VR and AR as well is going to be at a place. The Sega and the Tidal arcades, some of them have VR areas that are in there. That's kind of picture me at the VR area in Akihabara, at the Sega arcade there. There was a Fove place in Ikebukuro. There's this WoW VR Park Tokyo. They have a few locations across Tokyo there where they're mostly using Vives, and I think some Project Atlas stuff as well. But this in Akihabara, there was only really one shop I found that was exclusively doing VR things in all of Akihabara. There was a few places that were doing computers. Maybe they had a VR demo in the front that wasn't being tended to. But for the most part, PC VR was not a huge thing there outside of our little bubble of the meetups that were going on with the indie developers, right? So it was very interesting. And also it was kind of shocking how many connects are out in the field for installations. So that started at Space Invaders thing with the people kicking the balls to kill Space Invaders. That was all connects. The Pokemon store, Pokemon Center connect things, like shopping centers have connects everywhere, doing things, posing with characters. So very much connects and like location-based AR and VR is kind of where it's at, probably because of space and culture. And this is kind of another location-based thing. It's called VR Sense, using PSVRs. It's by Koi, so they had some interesting, like the horse racing, that's I think, Dead or Alive situation of some kind. I didn't play it, so I have no idea how bouncy it was. Then the location base that gives us to the ultimate granddaddy of all of them, VR Zone Shinjuku. So I should just say up front that VR Zone Shinjuku is a world-class installation. It's probably the best location-based VR I've experienced in the entire world. It's really incredible. So from the kind of gate, you get these tickets for admission, and then you have all of the attractions kind of color-coded, and you can get tickets for specific, number of attractions that you can do with that one ticket based on the color. So it's pretty well organized. The ticket to get in is about $15, and then individual tickets range from 10 to 15 for each attraction. So it is a little pricey, but it's kind of meant to be kind of a premium arcade experience there, which is pretty interesting. The inside is absolutely gorgeous. They have kind of this AR or projection tree, that beautiful lighting that's inside. They kind of see all the attractions. You can see kind of the wait time for each one, which is pretty interesting. And in each attraction, they have this really enthusiastic person at each one giving you this rundown of what the attraction is, what to expect. And they have kind of a card that's like kind of on the right, back and front, on how to play the game, and also each one had a kind of a separate, very specific procedure if you felt uncomfortable, if you want to stop. So they're really almost overkill in prepping a user for having a VR experience. They're expecting a lot of people coming in for doing this the first time. It was definitely had its times and it was pretty crowded, so it was doing pretty well, which is pretty interesting. I think they recently just lowered the age from 13 to 7, I believe. So they're expecting more business, and I think they're looking at opening up other VR zones in other places too. So getting to the attractions, that thing in the video when I was sitting on a giant chair hanging on to what looks like a giant thumb is exactly that. It's a giant Gundam in Odaiba, gets in a fight while you're there, and he puts down, he's like, let me pick you up, and you're like, oh my god, I'm gonna jump on the Gundam hand. And then you do, and then he picks you up and he flies in the air and he has a fight and you're like, ah! And it's awesome. So just to kind of, what I really admire about the VR Zone Shinjuku is that they kind of had a standard of, this is what we're gonna use. We're gonna use motion platforms for everything, we're gonna use fans for everything, we're gonna tie everything into an IP, and that's what we're gonna do. We're not gonna we're gonna work within those constraints and make great experiences using those factors, and they did a great job of doing that. So everything has some kind of motion platform and arrow manipulation situation going on. In Dragon Ball, which is very cool, it's kind of multiplayer. You get to choose between Krillin, Piccolo, Goku, and Vegeta to be your instructor. And they teach you how to, shoot ki and then shoot a Kamehameha. And then later you go versus, and they have like an air bullet shooting thing so you can feel the bullets zoom past you. And the Kamehameha, when you throw it, the reason why I said whoa is that it actually tears up the ground and it goes nuts. It was pretty sweet. There's like this hare chare. It's like you're on a bicycle that as you pedal, it has wings that are being manipulated. And then you also can kind of move, kind of this glider situation. Again, motion platform, you're feeling everything, and you have the wind that's corresponding with how fast you're going. It really makes for an immersive experience. It was really, really great. Let's see here. And kind of the best stuff, the highlights there, there was Mario Kart VR. If you've seen the Mario Kart GP arcade game in arcades out here, it's kind of an adaptation to that. The twist is that you're in an actual kart with the wheel on a motion platform with air blowing through your freaking hair. And you're looking, you can see everyone's head movements, so you can give them the actual Luigi death stare, which is tight. But also, instead of running through boxes and getting power-ups that way, you actually reach out a hand, the power-ups are floating by balloon, you grab them, and then you either throw them at your opponents, or in some cases like a hammer, you actually just hammer them. as they come next to you, which makes for some really tense matches that are really, really interesting. So that was super fun. There was a Ghost in the Shell experience in the bottom right there, which is kind of a full-body, tracking warehouse scale experience. It was very interesting. It's kind of a 2-on-2 deathmatch. It's supposed to be stealthy. The thing is that they got real careful. Like if you get next to another person, there's a big alarm that goes, so it's really hard to get close to your partner if you want to kind of duck behind them. And also, once you kill someone, their ghost remains behind, and you can still see them because they haven't vanished in real life. So it's very awkward when it's like walk to the spawn point, and you're like, ooh. And it got really troublesome when there's, the first part is just deathmatch, and the second part is freaking trying to hack a briefcase. And so people are just like camping. It's like, dude, go to the spawn point. I can't get past you. You're still there. You're a ghost, but I can't go through you. Interesting design challenge there. And then finally, Evangelion. I wish I had more footage of that, but that's the cockpit there. They did essentially, if any of you are familiar with Neon Genesis Evangelion, it's an amazing, amazing anime series. Came out long ago, but it's essentially a scene directly from the anime. You fight one of the angels, you work with your team to take down the AT field, and then it has a mic in all these experiences too. So when the EVA shuts down, you actually have to yell just like Shinji to get it to move. So you're like, okay, and then it wakes up and it's like the music, okay, I can't communicate how awesome it was. Yeah, if you're a fan of anime at all, it was like one of the best experiences I've ever had. I mean, they get every detail down to, in this anime, it's kind of this analog to a child being in the womb when they get inside of these mechs. So when these young people, they get inside of the mech, it fills up with amniotic fluid called LCL. So that happens in the VR experience. And if you want to hold your breath, you can hold it. And they're blah, and these bubbles come out as well. It's so wild. Like the attention to detail to match kind of frame for frame what goes on in the anime is really, really remarkable and great experience. So kind of to wrap it up, Japanese community, they absolutely love games. They're about the old school stuff. Akihabara has so many old school retro game shops, which I got a Virtual Boy, which I brought back from Japan. So we'll be demoing that in the back as well. And that is a Virtual Boy working display that was in one of the stores, and that was not the only one, which is pretty interesting. Location-based madness everywhere. They're really all about location-based experiences there. I think that's kind of what's happening in Asia. So if you're looking to go in the Asian market, looking to go in Japan, start thinking about making those types of experiences, especially if it ties in with the IP. Very, very powerful. VR Zone is something else. I knew it was going to be cool, but it totally blew me away by the combination of things they have going on there and the simple but effective use of those tools that they have, the motion platforms, the air manipulation, things like that, which is very cool. It's very interesting to go and look at these old games as a source of inspiration. I've been playing some Virtual Boy games, and I'm like, dude, these are solid gameplay mechanics that are here in these 3D games that should be at play in some VR game now. Which is quite interesting. So I encourage you, if you want to check out a few Virtual Boy games and see like, oh man, maybe you want to use an idea from old school Nintendo creativity in the 3D world we have now, which is interesting. So yeah, that's about it. Japan was pretty sweet. So that's kind of the report. Happy to take questions, but thank you for your time. We got a question from High Fidelity. What's up? Hey Bruce, how are you? I'm doing pretty good. You gonna come in here one time? Oh yeah, I'll be in there. I'm gonna come in. I think we're gonna after the presentations, we'll have a different setup. We can do some mixed reality stuff. So I'll definitely be in there and also be in High Fidelity proper as well. So yeah. Sweet. Yeah, so the Fove, what they're doing is there's a few places scattered around Tokyo where they have rooms that they're just have a variety of content that the Fove is kind of playing on. So it's kind of interesting, kind of small spots. there was a lot of places in Japan that were literally just doing the mobile VR stuff. Some of it was kind of fun content, some of it was on the adult side as well, where it's like, hey, check out this. So, yeah, there's definitely some of that going on, but the amount of mobile VR in location-based places was really surprising too. It's like, not only is it location-based high-end Vive stuff or Rift stuff, I mean, we're talking about go somewhere to do a Gear VR type experience, which was like totally nuts, but that's, you know, there was enough of it to make me think it's economically viable, I guess. Yeah. Oh man, Oxygen sounds really intriguing. No, I didn't see anything like that. Any kind of like isolated like booth or independent booth type stuff. Everything was out of the storefront at least, no matter how shady it looked like. But yeah, definitely it's that'd be interesting. I wonder how far away. I think it's kind of interesting with VR because of how personal it is you're wearing and the hygienics and all that. And I wonder how that'll work in kind of a self-service type of way. One more. No, they did not have a release date. It was kind of an internal project at the time, but it's very, very cool. They had some very interesting stuff at play with kind of having windows and different depths and to kind of highlight the emotion of the story that's happening. It was very, very cool. It's an incredible kind of application of virtual reality being kind of in a story-like environment. It's very interesting. So. But no release date yet, so I'm hoping that sees the light of day. Because it was definitely worth experiencing. All right, one last one.
In front of your face. We're trying to show school zone offers. That's good. Also, we'll see the other side.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting. Right now, I didn't personally see a whole lot of it, although at the Meetup, so we're heavily populated with people from companies like Nikon or, you know, there's been some, there's a person or two that's been there for manufacturing, using AR and VR for manufacturing real-time assistance with that. So I think maybe it's a little bit going on that doesn't seem to be kind of in their face, or you know, it wasn't very evident. It seemed to be still pretty indie and pretty kind of consumer level. You know, the entertainment IPs trying to get something going. Didn't see a lot of enterprise stuff as of yet, but I know there's definitely a few things out there people are working on. Sure. Cool, thanks. Amir gives a ratio next, so we're going to switch up.
This is Amir.
Yeah, it's really great. It's really good.
Next presentation is very short. We squeeze them in because it's a new Boost tribe. So I just want to say, how many people out here have been through Boost? Quite a few, right? I know we get there, yeah. Anyway, yeah, Boost is our favorite local accelerator here.
Yeah, I have a demo
when you know these guys are in town for 2 months, 3 months, right? So they're only here for a couple of meetups. So we're trying to squeeze them in where we can to get these guys in front of everyone. So,
What was it? I think it was the Philadelphia, the Global Summit. I ordered a couple.
Well, you can come check it out, and then maybe you'll change your mind.
And I'll be back, back over again. Maybe. I'll check it out.
Well, if you have previously made an order, and you decided to stay in the order, I'll get you come back to the same spot too.
As you mentioned,
I'm pretty sure we can do that, so. Yeah, thanks.
The majority of my tribesmates are actually here from the VR side, so you're probably sitting next to one. It's actually based in Lisbon, Portugal, so all across the Atlantic. And we're the host of the Global Web VR Hackathon. But now we're kind of working on something I think where it's much more fundamental to building a vision of the future where VR and AR has seamless monetization models, and which we think is going to create like a pretty clearer and cleaner atmosphere for game developers, for creators, and for users, most importantly. So who are we? We have a team that, myself included, I handle all things commercial for Originally, but most of my time is especially focused on writing articles on the AR, VR industry, mostly for VentureBeat at the moment. And I have a very, very niche focus, especially for web VR and what's soon to be called WebXR. My two amazing co-founders handle the platform and the product. We initially ran the Global Web VR Hackathon to catalyze content. That was the main purpose of it. We ran it in partnership with the likes of the web VR teams at Google, Mozilla, Oculus, and a dozen of other community partners. Because at the time of the hackathon, which was late 2016 to mid 2017, content was the big issue. It's not exactly the same situation now. I believe customers came out. One of the main goals was to basically find and address the big pain points, the big, whatever was stalling or hindering content creators. And in that respect, the biggest major bottleneck it was and continues to be, I think, the clarity, or the lack of clarity in monetization models. 2017 was, however, like a pretty awesome year for monetization. 360 VR advertising. This is not an example of it. This is an example of a much cleaner approach. Some of the experiments like Google's Area 120, but 360 VR ads had huge traction. I think some of the startups like Immersive are reporting up to 50% month-on-month growth in advertiser demand for that medium. But I think the next step to take that momentum forward is to establish more seamless models that are less disruptive on the content and the user experience. But I think from what we understand, especially from my point of view, writing so much about the VR space and AR space, is that you first need to introduce a standardized metric to drive the whole thing. So that's what we developed. It's basically called the gaze-at ratio, or GAR. It's a new metric standard to offer a way to value and monetize attention in XR environments. The algorithm calculates a user's depth of engagement by factoring all these different variables that equate into that, like what's the distance between you and the object, what it is your viewing angle to the object, how long, and what's the duration of looking at it. All these things are calculated together in order to provide a unique score. So, here's a stormtrooper that greeted us at Boost VC on day one. As you move closer to the object, or your gaze goes more directly towards it, the GAR rate increases and the value of the impression accelerates. The GAR is literally fueled by user attention. So, and it's all kind of, did anyone hear me before this? All it takes is a few lines of code tagged to the object in WebVR, or the plugin for Unity, and the GAR is in motion. And it's planned to make things a little more intimate with eye tracking and even interaction all incorporated into the GAR in the future. This visual is kind of like showing you one aspect of where the GAR is going, is that, the first machine is what we're developing right now. We've released the alpha last week. We're working with content partners to do pilot campaigns in order to fine-tune the algorithm to really cement the weighting with how everything works. And the second thing is to start working with the secondary mechanisms like ad platforms that basically GAR can equate to, convert to. But I wouldn't say GAR is anchored in monetization alone. We have pilot partners who are interested in using it for solid A/B testing, and we have some pretty cool things being cooked up on even triggering content interactions based on GAR depth of attention. And I'd love to talk to all of you guys about that kind of stuff. But the reason we're here right now at this immediate moment in time is to look for a variety of content partners to work with, who kind of believe in this kind of model and what it kind of represents. If you can actually understand, because I have a big problem with this, is that a metric and an analytic are not necessarily the same thing. Some people get that, some people don't, and I'm trying to work for the ones that I just need to explain it enough, because it is something that's missing in the equation, and I think it's very foundational to the whole ecosystem. We're planning and preparing pilot campaigns with the likes of Universal McCann, media agencies like PhD Media, integrating to a variety of different platforms, WebVR, ideally in some cases because we just love WebVR, but we are also increasingly adapting to Unity as of next month. So if you are someone with content that could maybe benefit from test trying the GAR, I really want to hear that expression, GAR. But then please reach out to us at untitled.com, reach out to me on LinkedIn, tweet at us, whatever. We'd love to hear and work with you guys. Thank you so much.
All right, that wraps up presentations for the time being. I think at this point we're going to get community announcements. If anyone has an announcement they'd like to share real quick, come on up to the front, let people know, and then we'll break out into demo time. Let's go. Dan?
All right, I have an abundance.